Welcome to Energetics with Kim and Veronica, where we invite you to nourish the energy of your inner why, your inner healing, magic, prosperity, your curiosity, clarity, playfulness. Welcome home.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Veronica.
Hello. Hi, Kim. Hi, everyone.
This is Kim and Veronica of Energetics, and we are going live. We don't always know what we're gonna talk about when we show up, but we just show up, and we like to show up real, raw, and authentic. And we're inviting you to show up the same way if you would like to, and kind of showing up with beginner's mind. So we might be talking about something that, oh yeah, I've heard all about that before. However, when we show up in the world with our friends, our family, and each other, and podcasts like this, videos like this, when we can show up with beginner's mind, with curiosity, then we can receive more of what's true for us, more awareness of what isn't, and all the things. And just receiving is receiving is receiving. And so, yeah, so if we can receive each other with beginner's mind, brand new and fresh.
And receive ourselves, right? We're so wired with preconceived notions, and that can end up shutting down the paths through which we receive ourselves and receive others. We've talked about receiving on a prior episode, and I think there's some new nuances that we can talk about. And for me, as I was thinking about this with Kim, I was thinking, like, why do we even care about receiving? Like, why? So who cares? If I don't receive, I don't receive. Who cares, right? And for me, for me, anyways, it all comes down to I want to live the life I want to live in the way I want to live it. And so I desire certain things in relationships. I desire certain things in finances and where I live and in my relationships with my friendships and the work that I'm doing and the way that, I feel in my body. And I do fundamentally believe that, as we've mentioned before, that, the universe really or life is providing to us that which is meant for us, which I believe is in alignment with our desires. So I personally believe that if you desire something, it's a sign, it's an indication that it's something that is meant for you, is possible for you, is your potential. And so as I lean into my desires and look at where there's the gap between where I'm at and where I want to be, there's an opportunity for life to come in and to provide me with insight, with wisdom, with the intelligence, with the revealing of the path to close that gap and move towards my heart's desires. But if I'm not in a state of receiving, then I'm not receiving that insight and wisdom and direction and guidance. And so it either thwarts it or redirects it or slows it down. And so the more that we can receive from everything around us, it really opens up the pathways for that to come easier, for it to come potentially quicker. Time is a whole other topic, but in a way that's more in alignment with my truth. And I think that I think that receiving is a really key way for us to experience that with ease. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Kim?
Well, I love how you said, like, the desire, because it's like, what lights me up. It is, and that's what's going to help move me forward. And at the same time, like you said, I need to be, in order for me to be able to know what lights me up, and to be able to follow those hits and those aha moments, I need to be able to receive. Because if I'm looking to move forward, and the universe or God, whatever you call it, is showing me all these things, and I have all these opportunities. If I can't receive them, how would I even know they're right there in front of me? And so, there's so many things out there of it's better to give than to receive, and all that stuff. However, if I'm not receiving and I'm not filling my own cup, how do I have anything to give anyone else? right? It,
Hmm.
for sure, it's like otherwise I end up giving to everybody but me. And so when I'm also giving to me, that's me receiving. And the other thing of yeah, again, if we're not receiving, how can we receive what's even true for us?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
all the gifts from the universe and all the magic. We if how can we receive it if we're blocking our own receiving?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I've really been living my life for the last few years under the premise of every moment is, there is an opportunity to receive from, every interaction I have with every person that I interact with, whether it's a really deep, long-term relationship or a small exchange, whether it's, a thought that I'm having, whether it's, an experience I'm having, there's something for me to receive in every moment. And so the more that I try to open myself up to receiving and to kind of break down the walls and lower the barriers, the more that I feel connected to that life force that is infusing me with the wisdom, the intelligence, and the beauty and the magic that is here and available to us. It's there in every moment, but are we allowing ourselves to receive it?
And so what is your how? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's always about setting myself up with the framework mentally to remind myself, right? So once I choose to play with something, so say for example, I've decided that I'm going to play with the idea that life is communicating with me in every moment, then it's a matter of challenging myself through the day and like stopping and pausing and questioning, is there a way that I could lower my barriers more? Is there a way that I could look at the beauty of this more? Is there a way that I could shift my perspective to look at it differently? I think a lot of our challenges come from that inner battle. We're fighting with life instead of receiving from life. So the how for me is really that reminder to shift my perspective and question, and contemplate differently. How
I
about you?
love that. Yeah, yeah, I think that yeah, I think it's really noticing where I'm not receiving. Like really noticing. And receiving doesn't mean, I have to agree with everything, right? It's
Yeah.
so receiving isn't about, yeah, it's just being present with what is, and that's receiving. And so just really noticing for me when I'm not receiving, then my walls and barriers by default have probably gone up, right? And so how can I even receive the awareness that it's not for me? Again, it's just an interesting little circle slash cycle, the hamster on
Yeah.
the wheel. And yeah, I think that for me, just being curious,
Mhm.
being really curious about what is right in front of me,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't mean I have to take it home with me, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
mean I have to make it mine, but
Yeah.
just being curious about that what isness.
Yeah, what isness and also what if, right? What ifness. I'm thinking about, I recall a couple of years ago my husband wanting to go to his friend's place and wanting me to go with him, and I, had a long day of work, and he's somebody who just goes everywhere all the time, and sometimes I feel the need to stay home and recuperate my energy from the day. But it was already decided we were going, and my immediate response was internally was I don't want to go, and I'm gonna have to drag myself through this night, and again challenging myself of okay, well, what if there is something fun here, what if there is something that I can receive here, what if I end up at the end of the night with like, okay, that was not so bad, or that was actually fun, or I had a good exchange, or so it's also like, okay, the what is and the what if it might be okay, that change of perspective.
I love that. That is so true. I'm so aware of that myself. It's kind of like if I've decided I don't want to go, um, I'm not open to receiving anything. But as soon as I'm like, okay, I'm going to go anyway, there's that thing of, well, you might as well make the best of it, right?
Hmm.
And so I could sit there like this, didn't want to be here, right? I could sit there like that, or I could just get really curious, like you said, of, okay, what is here? Oh, wow,
Hmm.
look at that lady's shoes. Aren't they the coolest? Or whatever it is, right? But I can't receive that situation or the fun that might even be right in front of me if I've got myself, boom. So everything is receiving.
Yes.
Everything is so much about receiving. And if we're blocking receiving on any level, that also is going to include every level.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what if it could be fun and different than what we expect? A great way that Kim, you and I have talked about really self-reflecting in our ability to receive is in conversations, right? So conversations are really great starting points of places where we can look at, okay, where are we not willing to receive ourselves and where are we not willing to receive somebody else? Where are we going into a conversation anticipating someone else's response, right? So we're already programmed, or we're already like, we're not receiving them fully because we've already decided how they're going to react or respond to something. And where are we self monitoring? Where are we, changing the way that we want to express ourselves in anticipation of somebody else's expectations? Where are we not listening, as you said, Kim? Where are we not listening to what someone else is saying because we're anticipating or we're preparing ourselves for a response to what we think that they're going to tell us? So conversations are a great place where we can
Mm.
self-reflect and self-examine of, okay, well, how open am I to receiving this exchange, this person, and how open am I to them receiving me?
Yeah, I love that because it literally, like people, I think, and I notice where I'm doing this, where I'm not doing it, and so for me, it's in order to receive, we have to be willing to be received, right? I don't know if we talked about that before or not, but we can always talk about stuff again, right? And
Yeah.
and so if I don't think I can be received by others for who I really am, then there's a lot of times that I might not show up true and authentically being me because I want those people to receive me and they can't receive me if I'm this, that, or that, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
there is the thing of, well, then that's not your tribe. Okay, okay. To me, everybody's our tribe. We are team humanity, right? Doesn't mean I have to hang out with them, doesn't mean I got to bring them home or anything like that. But for me, it's like, am I willing to be received for who I am and how I show up? Like, right? Am I willing to be received? And if I'm willing to be received, can I receive somebody else for who they are and how they're choosing to show up? Again, doesn't mean, then we have choice, right? We have choice of, yeah, love you, but,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And that's where choice comes into it for me is, but yeah, is that, yeah, I can receive them for who they are, meaning I'm not judging them, right? And at the same time, you know, I think that that's where so much people not knowing what's actually true for them comes from because
Mhm.
they're not willing to show up that way and be received that way. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah. And we're so wired based on prior experiences, right? Or what we've been taught or what's been shown to us. So, a specific relationship, I'm wired differently to exchange to be different with my husband than I would be with, in a different relationship because I've decided he's going to behave a certain way or respond a certain way or have an exchange with me in a certain way. So it's even more important sometimes to challenge ourselves on where are we really creating that wiring that has me with these preconceived notions of who the person is, that does limit that exchange to a certain extent when we aren't fully receiving each other because of that.
Right. So we're wanting them to show up differently for us, and we're showing up differently for them. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I just go into exchanges with him, my husband, thinking, okay, I know he's always going to respond this way, so I'm entering that exchange with that preconceived notion, and that changes what I'm willing to receive. So I think that relationships and conversations are really good places to just to self-evaluate and notice, right? It all starts from noticing. It all starts from the awareness. Where can we start to notice where we are wired a certain way, or we have these preconceived notions that are creating barriers essentially from what we could receive in the moment? And where can we move into the curiosity, as you said, or the what isness or the what ifness of, what might be here for me, what might be possible.
Yeah. Well, I loved your example of going somewhere that you didn't really want to go. And like I said, you can sit in a corner all frumpy, or you can be like, you know what? I can turn lemons into lemonade.
Yeah, yeah,
or
exactly.
I can cut the sour lemon and have that, and not enjoy it. And yeah, it's kind of like looking at what is there,
Yeah,
and and yeah, putting myself out there more for me too is and being willing to I think for me, in the willingness to be received, I also have to be willing to be judged. Because guess what? There's
which
going
is
to be
hard,
people who are not going to receive me,
which is really
right?
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's going to be people who aren't going to receive me. But do I twist myself upside down so that they can? No,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and if so it's like, if for me to be willing to be received, that means for who I truly am and my authentic self, um, I have to also be willing to be judged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And can I
Which is
can
not.
I allow that? Doesn't mean I have to agree and align to it, but can I be willing to be judged? Because guess what? People are going to judge. It's just what people do, right? Until they don't.
That's right. Yeah, it's a tough one. That's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Anything else, Kim, that as it comes to receiving? I think, in terms of a takeaway, because we always love to give takeaways, is, choosing even one day where you, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, as often as you can remind yourself, like, what if there's something here for me in this moment? What if there's something here for me in this exchange, in this conversation? And, as you go through your day, what could I be receiving? And you don't have to know how you might be having barriers up. You don't have to know how or why or where, right? Simply asking that question can change everything. Like, what if there is something here for me?
I love that. Yeah, I had a client yesterday, and that's what we were playing with this, and it was around, it happened because it happened. Now what?
Mm,
And that was a thing for her to play with, is, yep, that person said what they said. I could get down the rabbit hole, try to figure out why they said what they said or did what they did, or I could just say it happened because it happened. Now what? So it's like, move forward with that. And so yeah, as things are showing up, no, my God, things are showing up. Um,
yep.
right? It can, we can be on our way to the mall, and the red light happens, and we can go, I guess it wasn't meant to be, and go home. Or we can stop at the red light or pause at the red light and say, now what? And wait
Yeah.
it out and move forward. So I think it's about receiving that moment and now what?
Yeah.
Without making it wrong, judging it, wondering right? That's a lot for me.
I love that you only have one red light to the mall. I've got a gazillion. So.
Right. Trying to Tony in. I
That's
love
cute. Awesome. All right. Any other final words, Kim, before we wrap up?
I think we're good. And so even
Yeah.
us showing up on these calls, right,
Hmm.
is receiving. I'm
Yes.
receiving you, you're receiving me, we're receiving people who are watching, they're receiving us, and
Yep.
receiving.
Yeah. It's key. It's key to the magic in life.
It is. Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Kim. Love you so much. Until next time.
Next time, that was my mic went flying.
Bye.